Hello everyone, and this is my review for Monday Night Raw on September 19th, 2016. And as you know, this is the go-home show before the Clash of Champions, or you could just refer to it as Clash. That's what a lot of people did way back in the day when it was the name in WCW and still had the in it. But whatever in that case. So on to Raw this week. As I said, it's the go-home show to the Clash. What did they do in order to entice people to watch? Well, a little bit. They did a little bit in there that I would say was good, and then some areas not so much in other areas. They started off the show with Roman Reigns coming out. He's obviously incensed about what happened between him and Kevin Owens in the aspect with Seth Rollins and Rusev interfering in the match and costing him a chance at the title. So he comes out looking incensed, but before he even says a word, Stephanie McMahon cuts him off, and before she really says anything, she gets cut off by Mick Foley. And pretty much matches were made in this promo, and this was like a 20-minute promo just making, well, I won't say 20 minutes, it was probably about 15 to 17 minutes, making the matches for the night, which was, he makes the announcement of Seth Rollins going up against, Seth Rollins going up against Rusev, and then saying that he would also give a rematch to Kevin Owens, or to Roman Reigns with him and Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens comes out, he's incensed, trying to get out. It's like Steph's like, no, you pretty much got to be in this match. Says it's not a title, all that hoopla. And then Mick Foley makes it a steel cage match. So it's like, okay, that's kind of interesting out of nowhere. You don't get to see gimmick matches. It's not like TNA where you have almost a gimmick match on a weekly basis. So it's kind of nice to see a gimmick match every now and again on Raw, in that sense of everything. But overall, the segment, it took a while. It took a while to get going, and it didn't really come off all that well to begin with. At least in my own personal opinion. It didn't come off all that well. But it does lead to Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens having a stare down. Actually, Seth Rollins has stare downs with everybody, basically. He has a stare down with Kevin Owens at the ramp when he comes out for his match with Rusev. And then he also had a stare down with Roman Reigns in the ring as well. So you had that. Before Rusev went out there for his match, he had like a backstage altercation with Mick Foley. Like, there's a lot of talk before they even got to the wrestling this week. Oh wait, that's weekly. That's weekly on Raw. What am I thinking? But his bit with Mick was basically like everybody else. Like, why are you putting me in a match? I have this on Sunday. I have this and this and this, and you're ruining the celebration with Lana because of the DVD, the new movie coming out. I think it's called Interrogation or something like that. So they kind of had that back and forth, and obviously just leads to nothingness again. And it's like Rusev still has to go out there for his match, and he still has his match with Roman Reigns on Sunday. By the way, that was made too. I forgot to add that in there. Mick made Roman Reigns versus Rusev for the United States title for Sunday to go along with it. So they go out there. The match between Seth Rollins and Rusev, it was a good match. It was a good match for what it was. It ends in double count out. I get where they're going there. It's Sunday. Sunday they have people coming up, and you don't want them to look too weak or anything in that sense. For the big matches coming up on for Sunday in that sense. So it ends in double count out, and Rollins kind of gets one over where he dives onto Rusev off of the announce table onto the floor. So like they had brought up the rampway and everything in that sense. So overall it wasn't bad, but really in the end, nothing happened. Nothing really happened. Like, no one necessarily fully goes over. You don't get any real interaction between Owens and Rollins, or Rusev and Reigns at that time. That might come a little bit later. I'll talk about that a little bit later too. So so up next, we'll basically go through the other matches on the show, because there was a couple of squash matches again in here. Braun Strowman up against Sin Cara. This match, like they were building a small story around it, but they basically made this a squash match in the end. So quick match between the two of them. Braun goes over. Bo Dallas goes up against another local guy. Cuts another like darkish promo about only he can believe in Bo. And again, another relatively quick match in that case. So it is what it is. There, it's like they're kind of going through the jobber thing with multiple people now, and obviously they're kind of continuing that with Bo, where the local guys are coming in now. Like Braun and Nia Jax are moving on to other people. Like she has a small storyline going with Alicia Fox, which I think they're doing on the kickoff show on Sunday, or something in that sense. So they're kind of moving those guys on, but they're keeping the jobber thing going for like Bo Dallas at this point in time. Which once again, by the way, a "Let's Go Jobber" chant got started during that match. That's 2 weeks in a row that they pulled that one off. That the fans pulled that one off. That a verbal "Let's Go Jobber" chant happened. So yeah, it is what it is in that case. You had a backstage segment with Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho, and these two guys are gold on the mic. I like their interactions with each other and everything in that sense. Jericho's complaining about everything that Foley's doing, messing with Owens and everything. And he grabs like some guy's clipboard and just says, "I'm going to make a list of everything bad Mick Foley's done since he's become GM." And then he was going to present it to him. So he's just going throughout the entire night making this list. And then shows up in Foley's office is like, "You know what? I've got this list." And it's like, and Foley kind of just nonchalantly like brushes it off at that moment in time. And it's like, well, I'm going to have to show this in front of everybody now. So he goes out there to do this. And this is where you get to the point of the show where they're thinking in their mind, it's like, oh, we've got these other matches to promote, such as the tag team title match and Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho. And we need to get everybody on the show. So let's stick Enzo Amore and Big Cass in there. They'll cut a promo, and then we'll get the Shining Stars in there. Then we'll get the New Day in there. And then let's get the Club in there too. And of course, it ends with Sami Zayn coming out there, and it ends in one big 10-man tag where the faces go over. So I call that segment of the show, which in some cases had some good hilarity to it. We need to get all these guys on the show, so smash them together. Smash them all together. So that's what ended up happening there. In that case of everything. You also, there's a couple other things to get into, because obviously the Cruiserweights started tonight. So I'm going to talk about the Cruiserweights here in a moment, but also you had segments along with everything with the whole Charlotte and Dana Brooke. You had Charlotte and Dana Brooke back there with Mick Foley, and they were going through last week's match how it was a double pin and that there should be no number one contender and everything in that sense. So like they're trying to get the match canceled or force Bayley and Sasha to have to fight each other tonight and not have the tag match, or get the title match canceled altogether because there's no number one contender. So I like the aspect that they actually played off of that. Whether or not that was the full sense of, because last week they didn't even make mention of the fact that both Bayley and Sasha's shoulders were down, but this week they play off of that and they make it a triple threat. So instead of getting the match canceled, you get a triple threat match with Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte for the women's title. So again, they're kind of going for these bigger matches with Bayley and Sasha and Charlotte really, really quickly right now. They're going for those matches really quick and trying to get people over, or at least that's what I think they're doing. I don't know where they're fully going with it, but I don't like the aspect that they're pulling off this triple threat match so quickly, since Bayley's introduction to the Raw side of everything. Though I think they're going to be using this in a way because of how the tag team match came off. Because obviously the tag team match was still going. So you had Sasha and Bayley, and they had a backstage segment, which was very good interaction between the two of them. This was one of the better Bayley's better promos since coming up to Raw. Though I did like the whole aspect that she was playing the whole awkward, didn't really want to say she deserved the title shot, but knew that she did moments from the week before. But her interaction with Sasha here, talking about the good old days of NXT and everything in that sense. And then Sasha's like, well, this is completely new now. It's, you're up here on Raw and everything, and that's and everything for that one to go along with it. I thought this was a really good backstage segment because it tells where the Bayley character is right now. She's still like she was when she started in NXT, where she's just kind of starstruck and in awe of everything when she started in NXT and just happy to be there. So that's where she is here on the Raw side of everything, where they've kind of restarted the character all the way back. And then they're going to hopefully it builds to what you saw in NXT at some point in time with that character to go along with it. So the match with Sasha and Bayley going up against Charlotte and Dana was an alright match. It was a decent tag team match with a very good way of ending the match. But throughout the entire, the one thing I noticed throughout the entire match, like anytime you had Bayley with Charlotte or Sasha with Charlotte, everything felt fine. And I gave credit where credit was due last week. Dana looked pretty darn good in the ring last week with the interactions with Bayley and Sasha. This week, not so much. Things just felt clunky and everything like that on Dana's side. It just didn't feel. It didn't feel like she belonged in that portion of everything to go along with it. But the end of the match actually worked out really good. It's like Bayley's is running wild on everybody, knocks Dana out of the ring, wants to go for the Bayley to belly on Charlotte, but Dana grabs Charlotte by the legs and prevents the Bayley to belly, which eventually allows Charlotte to get the pin on Bayley after a big boot. So it makes you feel like maybe they're going to do some kind of Bayley goes through some kind of hardships type feel where she comes close to winning but not winning, or something in that sense for everything on that side. So we'll see where they go with all that stuff, all of everything on that side of everything for Clash of Champions. Cesaro, I'm going to talk about it again because just in case I didn't. Cesaro and Sheamus had their sixth match inside of the series, best of series. I thought they did a really good match this week. Obviously, they were doing this to tie up the series at 3. This week's match, I thought, came off really, really good because you got that sense of urgency from both sides. Like, you always had the sense of urgency when it was 3-0 or 2-0 for Cesaro. On Cesaro's side because he has to get wins, but now you kind of had that sense of urgency on both sides, and it pulled off a really good match to go along with that, telling that story of like, hey, we need to get to a tie in the series. So again, I thought this match came off really well, and it told the story that they needed to, and of course they're doing match 7 at the Clash to go along with it. So this one brings me to the debuting of the Cruiserweights on Monday Night Raw. So throughout the night, it's like you were kind of hoping, it's like, okay, they're going to debut them and they're going to give them multiple matches and everything. Well, not even the Cruiserweight champion T.J. Perkins shows up on the show. And I mean, in the end, I think they made it work on that aspect that he didn't show up here, because the match that they announced, you have Mick Foley, like they have Mick Foley out there for the first Cruiserweight match, and it's like, oh, okay, they're trying to make this as big of a deal as possible, and so that comes off well in that sense, though Foley does stumble over his lines a little bit in that portion of the show. But he introduces Rich Swann, Grand Metalik, the Brian Kendrick, and Cedric Alexander. So all four of them are out there. It's like, okay, what are they going to have? A tag match? Like, that was what I was worried about, is that they were just going to go out there and have a tag match, and that was all it was going to be. But it ended out being they gave importance to the match itself because they decided to make it a fatal four-way match. Oh, and by the way, now the winner of that match goes on to face T.J. Perkins at Clash of Champions for the Cruiserweight title. It's like they just gave the match importance to go along with the aspect that it was their the first Cruiserweight match on, with the Cruiserweight division on Raw in quite some time. So it was like one of those moments, like they gave something importance right off the bat. The four of them put on a relatively good match. I thought the match it went on for quite a bit of time. Like, they had 2 commercial breaks, which kind of killed the flow of the match, unfortunately. But what you got to see on TV, I thought was actually fairly entertaining and came off rather well to go along with it. Just a lot of fun watching everything that all the guys were doing. They spent time and got everybody like their moves in, and they sold the moves too. It wasn't like, oh, do your spot and then just get right back up so we could get to the next spot. No, they kind of sold everything to go along with it. The end came with the Brian Kendrick tapping out Cedric Alexander. I wish it wouldn't have been Cedric that tapped out, because I think he kind of had the even though he didn't get far in the Cruiserweight Classic, he had one of those like classic moments. Like, you have Triple H coming out there to endorse him. You had the crowd chanting, "Please sign Cedric," and everything like that. He's the one who ends up tapping out in the end. So you have the Brian Kendrick, which I don't think is a horrible choice in the terms of having like the first Cruiserweight title match with him and T.J. Perkins, especially the matches that Kendrick had during the Cruiserweight Classic. He can still go. So I think it was a pretty good choice, because Kendrick, is a well-known entity within the company at that point. Like, from the Cruiserweight standpoint, he is a well-known entity. He's been in the company before, so it's a way of going. And the crowd was getting into it towards the end. Like, I feel like they were kind of dead in certain spots of it, but they were kind of getting into it after they were continually seeing what these guys could do inside the ring. So I think in the end, minus the fact that they didn't have T.J. Perkins on the show itself, decent start for the Cruiserweight division. Not a bad way of going, because the match that they had wasn't just like, oh, they have a match, yay. No, it was, let's give this match some importance and make it for number 1 contendership. So, ups to doing that and doing everything that way. This leads into the Kevin Owens Roman Reigns steel cage match to end the show. It was a fine cage match. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but why is Roman going over clean in this match? Owens has to defend the title at the pay-per-view, and he just loses. Now, granted, it's because of escape. It's not because of pinfall or anything like that, but still, it's like, you have your guy lose clean. And then Rusev comes out to make the attack after the match. And he gets shut down by Roman Reigns, who's just been through this long fight and inside of a steel cage. He just gets shut down. And the only way that Rusev gets the advantage is when Kevin Owens kicks the door into Roman Reigns' face. So they have Roman Reigns in the ring. They lock the door and everything like that. And just... they're beating down Roman, and this brings out Seth Rollins. He makes the save and jumps off the cage to end the night. I don't think Rollins is at the point of babyface where he really needs to be saving Roman Reigns because of their history against each other. Now, you could play it off the aspect that he just wanted to get at Kevin Owens a little bit. With everything, and that was just a byproduct of it, that he helps out Roman Reigns. So you could play off of that. But you could definitely tell that they're trying to make... Either they're slowly trying to make him babyface, or they already think he's babyface, so he's doing like more high acrobatic moves and everything. Like, I've always felt like his moveset was best suited for face, though he was working a heel for the longest time. Like, he's a good heel, but like, I still feel like it'll be really good for him when he becomes a full-on face. And we'll see how everything plays off. Because you have little interactions like with Stephanie McMahon and everything, which makes you feel like the way Stephanie was interacting throughout the night makes you feel like she's going to be a heel at some point in time. Not deep into the future, but very soon. Because like some of the facial interactions when Foley makes the cage match and between Owens and Reigns, it's like she was kind of in like disbelief and everything. She even gets in Rollins' face saying like, yeah, Kevin Owens has replaced you. She believes in Kevin Owens and everything in that sense, but still denies the aspect of being knowing what was going on with Triple H. Which, by the way, guess what? We still don't know. When are we going to find out the ambitions of Triple H? Why did he attack Seth Rollins at the Fatal 4-Way and everything like that? We're still waiting for that. It's like, okay, it was fine for a week or so, but now you've gone through not only like wondering at the end of that show, but you got nothing last week, and you got I'm trying to think off the top of my head there. I think you had the end of that show, the next week's show, and then this show. Nothing from Triple H. So they're leaving that storyline open there, and I'm hoping that they do something with that at some point in time. So we'll see where they go with that. So overall, kind of a mixed bag show. For your go home Raw, it's like they had some good stuff in there, and I like some of the interactions that they had, like with Charlotte, Dana, and Mick, and the Sasha Bailey promo backstage, and their match was fine and built for that triple threat that they in the way that they needed. But there's also like bad moments, like it's like let's take these 3 matches that are happening at the pay-per-view and mesh them into a big 10-man tag and just go for it. And it's like moments like that. Also the aspects, it's like, why is Kevin Owens losing like 6 days before the pay-per-view and not losing to like Seth Rollins in a tag team match or something? That would have made at least a little bit of sense. No, he's just losing to Roman Reigns, like has a completely different match to go along with it. So like I said, mixed bag for Raw this week. And we'll see how the Clash of Champions goes with that and how everything comes off on the show. I think it should be at least a fun match show and everything. And so it just depends on what stories they decide to tell within those matches to go along with it. And we'll see how everything comes off. So that is my review this week for Monday Night Raw. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.